Howdy folks, howdy race fans. Howdy race fans, this is In the Pits, my little show about racing. I'm StockCar Scott, and this here show In the Pits is brought to you each and every week by Monte Carlo Express Delivery. Monte Carlo Express Delivery has been serving the courier needs of the Seattle area for over a decade now. Please like us on Facebook. Well, not much to cover this week, so I'll try to be brief and get it right this next time around. So, Thursday, I like it when we start off with Thursday night, something racing on the track. That's always nice. And this week it was late evening qualifying at Charlotte for the Cup race on Sunday. So they got out there and did the 3 rounds of qualifying, and it turned out real nice for the Toad, who had the fastest time there in the last round. And the old man, Jeff Gordon, he was second. He's still pulling along strong there. So the old man was second. Junior was acceptable. He was in the top 10 there at 9th place. He made it to the last round of qualifying, so I was happy about that. And speaking of happy, he was not on the pole. Harvick was not on the pole this week. He qualified 7th. That's just one of the things that'll be different about this week's race. Jimmy Johnson had a little bit of problem there. I think he made the 2nd round, but he almost wrecked, qualifying 21st. So that set things for the race that was on Saturday night. More on that shortly. Friday, got up and of course had to un poco trabajar there, get a little work done, and then it was practice. Got to watch a bunch of practice Friday before the nationwide race that was on that evening. First there was Cup practice, and it wasn't real important practice because it was kind of in the wrong part of the day in order for it to do them any real good. I mean, the Toad didn't even get out there until just about the end of the practice, because most people just shaking down their cars, making sure everything works right, all the screws are on and all the brakes work, all that sort of stuff. And then while they took a break, I watched my recording that I recorded during the morning of F1's practice, their practice at Sochi in Russia for the Russian Grand Prix. And that was real nice because it was the first time anybody had been out on the track. David Hobbs, one of the announcers and an old racer announcer, said that the track reminded him a lot of Valencia, but backwards. So that's comparing it to an old F1 track. And as I like it when Lewis does, Hamilton was fastest in that first practice. And Hamilton is usually pretty good at inaugural races. So one of the other things to touch on for F1 is that Jules Bianchi, of course, was not there yet. He's still in Japan in stable but critical condition after his accident at Suzuka. The team, Marussia, went ahead and had the car scrutinized, as they call scrutinized, and they had the scrutineers go ahead and look at it, and had a driver for doing that sort of thing. But they did not have a replacement driver. They did not go out on the track during practice or qualifying or the race, but they did have Jules Bianchi's car in his part, what would be his part of the garage, as though it was ready to go for him anytime he was ready for it, which I thought and everyone thought was just an excellent gesture on their part. Another item there from Sochi was that the dancing that Fernando Alonso was doing as people were asking him questions about his future. So we'll find out more of that in the weeks to come. And then there was more practice after I watched that. Got done in time to see the Cup practice, and Junior looked pretty good. He looked pretty good, but unfortunately he called his win. Don't do that, Junior. You know, just if you're going to win, like if you're going to win this weekend at Talladega, just keep it to yourself. We don't need to know about it until you're in victory lane. You can tell us about a dream that you had or something. But, of course, what happens when you call your shot? Well, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and that's what happened with Junior. So, more on that in a little bit. Friday evening was the nationwide race. 300-mile, 200-lap race there at Charlotte, and it was a pretty good race. One of the bad parts of it was early when one of my favorite drivers, Ty Dillon, in his number 3 Camaro, crashed early there, which really going to hurt him there in the points. The middle part of the race was real nice because a lot of the nationwide points contenders like Chase Elliott and Regan Smith had a chance to run up front some, but the non-nationwide drivers did a lot of the leading and showing off there in the race because Ryan Blaney from the Truck Series, he ran real well in a second Penske car, and let's see, Wonder Kid Kyle Larson's, he stepped down from the Cup Series there to run. He ran real well. But by the end of the race, it was 3 Cup veterans now that were dominating the race. It was Kenseth and Keselowski and the Toad running right there, 1, 2, and 3 at the end. Brad won the race in his number 22 Penske Mustang. The second place was the Toad, but it was real close between him and his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate there, Matt the Brat Kenseth. So that was an interesting race, although it would have been more interesting had it been more nationwide drivers doing better there. Always like to see those guys do well. Like I said, Blaney and Larson did well. They finished 4th and 5th, rounding out the top 5 there. Chase, the Chase Elliott, leader in the nationwide points, finished 8th, and that he retains his point lead. Regan Smith, his teammate, who's chasing him, chasing Chase there, is still in second place with his 11th place finish at the race. Ty, on the other hand, with that 30th place finish in that crash, it brought him from 3rd place all the way down to 5th place. His teammate, Brian Scott, no relation to StockCar Scott, he's moved up to 3rd now, and Elliott Sadler, another Joe Gibbs Racing car, has moved up to 4th. So they're taking the next couple of weeks off. Nationwide, I don't think they pick up again until maybe Texas. So next week is Trucks and Cup. So give Nationwide guys a rest. They've been at it hard, I do believe, for about 18 weeks straight. Also on Saturday, now that we're done with Friday, the Nationwide race, then on Saturday was qualifying for F1. Now, I had, of course, taped that early in the AM there and watched it at my leisure when I got up, but it was still real interesting. Of course, it's always interesting for me when Hamilton takes the pole, but he did. He laid down a really good lap, but Rosberg and Valtteri Bottas both put on excellent laps there, and it looked like either one of them could have taken a pole away from Lewis, but they both kind of slid right there towards the end of the lap in kind of the same place, so that lost enough time where my favorite guy there, Lewis Hamilton, took the pole for the first Russian Grand Prix in 100 years. Oh, and then on Saturday, I know y'all folks probably watched what happened Saturday. I tell you, I was just yelling and crying and screaming. I was livid, and you know what I'm talking about. The race, pre-race was supposed to come on about 4, and the race was supposed to start 4:30 or so. Something like that, and I flip on. What's on? Well, there's a college game with a couple of Texas teams, Baylor and Texas Christian University, the old Horned Frogs, going at it. And if it had not been a race that I was waiting to watch, it would have been a pretty good game, I think, to watch, because there was lots of scoring and all that stuff. But I was there to watch a race. Well, ABC seemed like they'd forgot that was what they were there for, was to show the race. And they never found a way to show the first laps. They had to show that whole football game, and so when they finally got around to NASCAR, it was already 25 laps into the race. They had already thrown the competition caution that they had for rain the night before, and it was you would not want to have heard the things that I was saying as I was watching the television. I mean, it was so. Anyway, but that's the kind of things that happen with TV when one of the TV networks is not included in the new TV package. And ESPN, ABC is not going to be with NASCAR next year. We know it's going to be Fox and NBC. So they didn't care. They don't care if they make NASCAR fans mad. They're out in a month and a half. So. And it isn't the first time I've seen things like this happen. Back in 2000, when all of the different contracts were consolidated into a big one that NASCAR split between Fox and NBC, and I think TNT was still in there at the time, but CBS got pushed out, and they didn't like it very much. So in 2000, when they were supposed to be showing a Busch race, what Nationwide was at the time, they couldn't wait out a rain delay, and that race was never shown. I heard about it later that Mark Martin had won in the Winn-Dixie number 64 Roush Ford there, but I never got to see it. Just one of those things that's out of my control. Gee whiz, it'd be nice. A channel devoted to racing would really be nice. You'd think somebody would think of that by now. Just not other sports getting in the way, just racing. That would really be nice. Well, I don't want to get off too much on a rant there. ABC did finally get around to showing the race after, like I said, 25 laps. The competition caution already happened. By the time they got it on there, the old man was leading the race, and he ran real well. Jeff Gordon had a good race. In fact, he finished second. Dale Jr., he had a pretty good race early, and luckily we got to see the part that he was in, because they were making up some commercial time from what they missed while the football was on. Boy, they were packing all the commercials that they didn't get in during the first 25 laps. So anyway, Jr. ran well for a while and led some laps, but he turned out to be a shifter out of luck, we might say. Broke a shifter and just never recovered from it. They tried to fix it a couple of times, got him a couple of laps down. He got one of the laps back, I think. But he ended up finishing first car on the lap down lap in 20th, which has pretty much ruined his chances of moving on in the chase unless he wins next weekend at Talladega. And I always want Junior to win, but this is even more important next week. That would really make me happy. Oh, and speaking of happy, Nice segue, huh? Happy wasn't on the pole this week, but that didn't keep him from running up front with the big boys. And despite a bad pit stop that he had early, he was able to run real well all during the race. And when the time came there at that last restart, he was able to put it on the old man there, and you know, he's not called the closer for you know, just cause it sounds good. He got out there at the end of the race and closed that sucker and won the race. So Kevin Happy Harvick was able to stamp his pass on into the next round, and he will be going into that championship, whatever the next round is, and look forward to good things. But unfortunately, that wasn't the big news of the race that made the national news tonight. Yes, tempers flared there at the end of the race. A lot of y'all saw it. I saw a lot of comments. Nobody likes Brad Keselowski anymore, if they ever did. Now he's really bad, Brad, but he felt kind of offended there, been slighted there at the end of the race by a couple of Joe Gibbs racing cars. So he decided to take it out on Denny Hamlin there on the cool down lap, which NASCAR, I think they were willing to let that one go. But when he came into the pit row and slammed into Matt Kenseth, who was halfway out of his belts and had his window net down, and then banged into Tony Stewart, NASCAR took note of that. And also then when Tony Stewart backed up into the Blue Deuce, NASCAR took note of that. You know, all these things happening on pit row where there are officials and people after the race. And then Brad in the Blue Deuce there went heading off behind the wall into the garage area, did a burnout through one of the garages. I think it might have been Denny Hamlin's garage, because Denny come chasing after him, but cooler heads kept him from getting in trouble. Cooler heads weren't around when Matt caught up with Bad Brad, though, and that's when fists started swinging and holds started being applied. Got quite interesting there between the two Penske haulers. So, you know, things happen. But NASCAR, you know, they Robin Pemberton was out there that night taking pictures of the black marks that Brad Keselowski put down in the garage area. And he wasn't, as Kenny Wallace said, he wasn't taking those pictures for his health. Well, we found out today what happened. Even on the national news, they reported that that Tony Stewart won himself a $25,000 fine and probation, and Bad Brad Keselowski got him a $50,000 fine and probation for the next couple of weeks. I don't know if that was enough, but I guess NASCAR felt that was enough for the infraction, so we'll let it go from there. No points taken away, so it doesn't really affect the chart. Got the chart action going on here. Got the people who need to really be worried about dropping off here during the next race. That's my guy Junior and his teammate Jimmy Johnson, who are the furthest out away from the cutoff point. Brad Keselowski is next down. I think these two guys are like 28 out. Brad's like 26 out. I don't know how far out Matt Kenseth is, but he needs him to win. All these guys, if they win at Talladega this weekend, they jump right up in here into this last 8 that's going to run the next 3 races for the championship. Casey Kane from Enumclaw is still hanging in there. In the 8th spot above the cutoff. And with wins, we got Joey Logano, the old Joker, and Happy Harvick in the top 2 places with their wins. The Toad is still up here, and so is Ryan Newman. So we'll see what happens after Talladega, who I have to take off the chart. And just a quick little thing while we're on Casey Kane there, Casey showing off the Casey Kane diecast. Let me show off another one right fast, which is the Casey Kane diecast of Great Clips. The reason I mention Great Clips is because got my hair cut today. Got my hair cut today, and where did I go to get my hair cut? Great Clips, you know, because they sponsor a car. Hey, that's the way I think, folks. Anyway, after Fight Club there on Saturday night, I went ahead and followed one more NASCAR race, which was happening with the K&N West Series in Roseville, California. And that I was able to follow along with on Racing West Near Live, reported by Andy D. And Andy D had his birthday that night. So thank you for putting on a nice race report there, Andy, and happy birthday. The race itself will be able to be seen this Friday. Friday morning at 10:30, you'll get to see Nicole Behar of Spokane. She ran real well. She got a top 10. I think 8th was her finish. Uncle Mikey Waltrip took a little time off from Dancing with the Stars to go up to Roseville, California, and he turned in a 10th place finish. Something about he got in trouble for having a phone in the car, I do believe. But anyway, we'll see that Friday morning when we record it, and we'll also see who wins on Friday morning. I'm not saying, even though I know. The other K&N race, K&N East race, their series is done. They're on the East Coast for this year, and I finally got around to watching my recording of their last race there at Dover, which was won by Austin Hill, and the championship was won by Ben Rhodes. So there you go. One more K&N race, which is a West race in Phoenix in a couple of weeks when the trucks and Nationwide and Cup are all down at Phoenix. The K&N guys will be down there too on the Thursday night before that. Okay. Another thing I did Saturday was stay up way too late to be disappointed. I wanted to stay up to see the midnight replay on ESPN2 of the race so I could catch the beginning that I hadn't seen. Well, I stayed up because I had a feeling they weren't going to start on time. No, about 40 something minutes late, because they had to show some baseball studio show and some college football show. College football went long, of course, earlier in the night, which set everything back. And so once I saw it was on, I went ahead and let it record, and come to find when I get back to it that they only ran an hour and 17 minutes of replay time. They cut it down to that much, plus there were commercials in there. So they could get to the first offering, I guess, of Sports Center early in the morning on the right time. But it would have been nice if they could have shown some more of the race, because all they showed was a little bit of pre-race and then the first 3 laps of the race, and then they went to a commercial. And when they came back from the commercial, it was already to lap 87, where Jeff Gordon was already leading and everything. So it was really, really disappointing that all I got to see at the beginning of it was 3 laps. Well, what you gonna do? That's just part of the junk that ESPN, ABC is going to be pulling over the next couple of weeks. That's why, I'm really going to have to be on top of things in order to make sure that I get to see all the racing. I tell you, I really miss speed and the replays that they used to have. They used to have enhanced replays about 10 years ago. It wasn't just the replay, or just the race, which I already had a copy of. it was a replay that I had to make a second copy of because it had comments by the winner or the winning crew chief or something like that. I mean, it was really something worth watching all by itself. But no Speed Channel, no Speed Channel replays, so just one of the many things that have changed. Saturday took me a quick nap so I could, a quick nap at 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and so I could get up and watch the Grand Prix of Russia. Yeah, F1 was where they had the Winter Olympics just this past winter at Sochi. And it's quite interesting. Of course, Hamilton was on the pole, so he led. In fact, he led every lap. But right there at the beginning, Nico Rosberg put a really hard charge on him, which ended up flat spotting Rosberg's tires as he was sliding through the corner. He had to go in and go ahead and change to his option tires on lap 2. While his teammate and points leader Lewis Hamilton just drove off into the sunset there. Now Rosberg was able to use those option tires to drive his way back up to second by the end of the race, but no one ever really had anything for Hamilton. No one could catch him. Valtteri Bottas started third and was able to work his way back up to third with his Williams Mercedes there, which was another podium for him. He's having a really good year. And Mercedes, because of the 1-2 finish by their drivers of Hamilton and Rosberg, they clinched the Constructors' Championship, which is something that Mercedes has never done, and you can bet that you will hear about it on some of their advertising in the near future. F1 is off for a couple of weeks until the end of October, beginning of November, when they have the race in Austin, Texas, just outside of Austin, Texas, at the Circuit of the Americas. They've only had 2 races there, and they've both been really good, folks. Really worth watching. Unfortunately, it directly conflicts with the NASCAR racing, which is in Texas also that weekend in Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we're going to have to see how that goes. Hopefully they'll work out that glitch by next year when NBC will have to cover both of them, the F1 race and the Cup race at Texas. So we'll have to see how that goes. Okay, so jumped right back into bed after the F1 race and caught me a couple of Z's and got up and did a little yard work later after when the Seahawks were busy losing their game. It's about the only football I watch anymore these days, but I didn't even watch that. Had yard work to do, but it was kind of weird out doing yard work because the sky was overcast and it was quiet. It was really quiet, like there had been a snowstorm or something. The city was just really, it was eerily quiet. Something I haven't really experienced except for when there's fresh snow on the ground and the city is pretty much paralyzed. So I guess they were paralyzed because of the game and what was happening. Oh, but it also gave me time to finish off my recordings for the weekend. As you see, I hadn't got them over here, but I usually record, get all the races recorded and everything, get that out of the way. And then, of course, I had a little extra time to work on the script here for the show. Yeah, I do work on a script. I do have something that I try to follow here. But, I got a lot to talk about sometimes. But anyway, also, speaking of a lot of things to talk about, also on Sunday was the beginning of the new season for my one and only favorite TV show, about the only TV show that I anticipate watching each week. And it was chock-packed full of good stuff. I tell you, and all I can tell you about it is, all right, the end of Terminus, exterminate all the termites. That's what I tell you. But back to racing. quickly, next week is Talladega. Talladega is my home track. I'm going to try to take off Friday if I can to watch just every lap, every second of coverage from Talladega. I love it. It's Alabama. You know, there are only 2 races this weekend. They're both at Talladega, the truck race on Saturday and the Cup Chase Contender race. The last chance for all these guys that want to try to move up into the next round of the chase. And Junior, I want you to win every week, but this week, you got to win. Junior's got to win this week or his championship chances are over. Okay, well that's enough for now. We'll get this one posted. One thing I did want to talk about real quick is I'm seeing a lot on Facebook about trying to organize a street stock race and mini stock race for Hermiston, Oregon in a couple of weeks, October 25th. Sounds like it could really be fun, and I flew the idea past my wife tonight, and she didn't say no, so maybe I might get to see one more local race before the season's actually over. That would be great. Hermiston, Oregon on the 25th. Maybe we'll get to see you folks there, but until then, I appreciate you race fans watching. I appreciate you race fans viewing the races on my YouTube channel, and hopefully, like I said, they'll have something going on at Hermiston that we can all go out and see a little bit of racing there before the bad weather and the winter sets in up in this part of the country. So until then, race fans. Oh, I had one more thing to mention. One more thing. What did I do with it? Oh, let me go over here. I almost forgot about it. I also saw on Facebook that Dennis Schaefer has his mini stock championship car for sale. So if you want to hop right into a car that won a championship last year down at South Sound, this is it, folks. The number 56 PT Cruiser. It's built on a Mustang chassis. And it is cool. It is really cool. If you want to be the coolest race car on the mini stock track, there you go. Looks like no other. But putting in a plug because it is for sale. For sale. And it sounds like a good deal. I'm not going to quote the price, but it really sounds like a good deal for a championship winning car there. So there you go. Anyway, so you might even get to see, you never know where you might see a mini stock run there. They said they might have some of those down at Hermiston, which would be really good too, plus a couple other divisions. But we'll try to make it there if we can. If not, we'll see you race fans win and wherever there's some good stock car racing going on, because that's why I'm called StockCar Scott. Until then, please keep watching. Thank you very much for watching, race fans. Until next time.